This is Actualize Freedom, straight talk on growing clicks and conversions on Amazon FBA from people doing it every day. Now here's your host, digital marketing acrobat, Danny Kenji Carlson.
What's up, guys? Danny Carlson here with the Actualize Freedom podcast, and this is going to be a really interesting one to dive into if you're interested in video marketing, specifically for Amazon. And it's something I think people get really wrong, or people just don't really know what they should be doing, right? It's an interesting landscape. You can pay thousands and thousands of dollars for a video, and if it's just not hitting the mark, or if it's not going after some specific objective, maybe not a couple $1,000s spent very well, right? So we have the man with the plan here, and with some really incredible video marketing experience that we get to pick his brain. So welcome to the podcast, Rick.
Hey, thanks a lot, Danny. Thanks for having me on, and I look forward to speaking with your listeners.
Excellent. So the first question I'd like to start with here is, in 2019, we have a very interesting landscape when it comes to videos. Videos have been just growing massively as probably the most important medium on the internet for getting a message across, right? Whether that's YouTube or Facebook video, or on Amazon now is getting better options. So what do you think is kind of the basic landscape of video's purpose in online marketing in 2019?
Yeah, well, I'm glad you brought that up, because really we're becoming what I call a video-first society. People would rather watch a video than read something. And with technology the way it is and social media, it's like people just want to create video. I don't want to bore your listener, but I just have a few facts that are really interesting. Every second, almost 17,000 hours of new video will be produced. Forbes reports that there's been more video produced in the last 30 days than all the television networks combined produced in the last 30 years. And then this year, almost 80% of all internet traffic, mirroring what you just said, will be made up of videos. So whether we like it or not, we're really becoming a society of videos. And so if you aren't using video in your marketing, you better, start doing it, because that's the way people are receiving their information.
Oh, absolutely. And what would you say to people who they think that video is too expensive and maybe they don't want to put out video that is lower quality? Would you recommend that brands only put out really high quality videos, or just some of these selfie videos of the founder just filming themselves talking? Is that acceptable in certain situations too?
Yeah, one of the things that's really good, and I cover a lot in my book, Video Persuasion, technology has increased so much that really it allows almost the average person to produce great video using the cameras on their cell phone. There's a whole chapter about video production and cheap ways to get really nice looking video done. And I just have to contrast it. I've been producing videos and marketing videos and infomercials for the last 30 years. And so I've seen the history of when it used to cost, $10,000 a day just to hire a crew to go out and make a video. And you were talking about that earlier in your introduction. Nowadays with technology, people can use their cell phones. I recommend that they buy an inexpensive mic on Amazon and an inexpensive light. And those are the two areas, if you can have good lighting and good sound, that almost anybody can make video. And the second part of that, and both of those things you can get for under $100. And the second part of that is there's a lot of really useful online apps like Content Samurai, where you can take a written blog and they'll turn it into a video for you. And I list at least about a dozen of these different apps that allows the average person really to create pretty good videos that really don't, if they don't have a background in video production.
That's excellent. What is Content Samurai exactly? Literally, people can take a blog post they have and it'll turn it into a text on screen kind of pop-up video, or what is that?
Yeah, so basically it's an app, and pretty much what you said, and you can take either a blog or something you write, basically put it in there, the link in there. Then they have an automatic system that'll go and match pictures, and it's kind of provides a slideshow, and then it puts titles in, and you can actually record your own voiceover, or you can choose a voiceover for them. and it's basically a template type video production service. And I'm not pitching necessarily their service, because there's, like I said, lots of them out there that you can use. That's just one that is a pretty simple app for people to use.
Yeah, no, I'm always looking for new valuable tools to create good content, right? Content is an important game in the Amazon space. So speaking of that, what type of videos would you recommend that specifically people selling on Amazon should be focusing on? And just maybe focus specifically on, the videos that we can actually upload to Amazon to begin with.
Yeah. So that's a great question. And I think I'll just back up a little bit. And again, I get a lot of this information from online platforms like HubSpot and things like that. But the three most popular types of video content that people are watching are tutorial videos, which are how-to videos, how to use a product, demonstration videos, which are a little bit different than tutorials because they're basically the videos that are going to sell your product. And that's what I focus on a lot in my book, is how to create those type of a really good demonstration video. And then the last are testimonial videos. And testimonials are just, for me, a really powerful marketing tool. And anybody doing e-commerce, I always tell them they need to go out and get some, if they don't have them already, some testimonial videos of their customers to put on their website. And so those are the three types of content. So let's kind of circle back to the question you asked about the Amazon videos. In the work that I've done, again, I focus on the demonstration video and really creating the proper video. And the things that I learned from successful television infomercials seem to work on Amazon as well, as far as putting up titles and infographics and then focusing on the benefits of a product. You talk about the features, but you really want to focus on the benefits to the end user and be able to call out those benefits. And, in the listings we do, help people do, in addition to the video, we like to make infographics where instead of just a plain picture of the product, you have the product, but then you have some titles or infographics that are calling out the benefits. Someone told me once that does a lot of selling on Amazon that every one of those listings or pictures in the listings, images, you should look at it like a magazine ad, and that standalone picture should be selling the product. So if people have that mindset and think about that in terms of the video they're going to produce, I think they'll be able to, and Amazon at least, increase their conversions.
Yeah, and you brought up a really good point about putting the little text pop-ups on the screen and everything like that, because most people are going to be starting to watch these videos on mute, or they're maybe in a place that they're on the train or something like that, and they can't actually have the sound on, right? So would you recommend that people have text captions on every video they put online?
Yes. I mean, every video where you're basically an ad or selling a product, for sure. If it's just straightforward content, maybe not. And for that same reason, and you take it a step further with Facebook ads and things like that, people are watching the videos without the audio on. So it's really important to capture people's attention. I spend a lot of time in the book about, I have a whole chapter about creating a good demonstration video, and the steps that you should do to do that, and we can go over that. And it's really, the book is less about video production and more about the content of the video that's going to engage the viewer. And just to kind of go off on a little bit of a tangent, we talk about how to hook the viewer into it, and there's a lot of analogies to giving a good speech. When I was in my 20s, I read a book, you might have heard of it, by Dale Carnegie, called How to Win Friends and Influence People. And he said the formula for giving a speech is really simple. You tell them what you're going to say, you say it, and then you tell them what you said. And I've actually used that formula to produce really, really successful infomercials. And I know it sounds very simplistic, but it's something that I've tested on TV and online, and it really works. I'll give you a good example of that. And is the marketing we did for GoPro. And if you think about, if you've ever seen a GoPro 30-second television spot, which we did all of the television marketing for GoPro, every spot started with a brand image. So you knew right away, you were telling the viewer this commercial is about GoPro. I don't know how many times, Danny, you've ever watched online video or maybe even something on TV, and you're watching it and you have no idea what the heck they're talking about until you're a minute into it, and it's like, that was a waste of time. So I like letting the viewer know right up front what they're going to be looking at. And then going back to the GoPro example, the middle of the spot was user-generated footage, people jumping off a cliff in a wingsuit, or snowboarders or scuba diver, whatever. And then we ended the commercial, and this is an important thing in a demonstration video, with a call to action. And in the case of the GoPro, it was really interesting. We said on the final screen, on the 30-second spot, we said, go to our website, someone will win one of everything we make every single day. So 3 great things happened. People would go to the website and register for the contest to win the prizes. We would capture their name, and then we could remarket to them when we were building our database. The second thing that happened, people would go to the website, they'd see all the other cool GoPro videos, and they'd share them with their friends, and that created a viral effect. And then the last thing was more traditional direct response. People would get to the website, they'd purchase a camera, we'd generate revenue, and we'd use that revenue to offset the advertising cost. So it's kind of a great example of all the things I put together and talk about in the book on how to create good video and combine it with direct response principles.
Yeah, it's such a powerful tool, right? And I don't want people to get really overwhelmed by things here too, because you can have some very complicated strategy when it comes to, marketing funnels and adding video here, the retargeting to this person, blah, blah, blah. I want to ask you, how do you like to craft videos based on a certain objective? So let's say that you have the objective of just increasing the conversion rate on an Amazon listing compared to the objective of getting someone to sign up for your email list. Maybe let's go with those 2 examples of how would you craft a video specifically for an objective like that?
Yeah, that's a great question. And that's, when people say you need to do video like we've been talking about, that's a really broad area. And I always tell people that you have to start with the end in mind. What's the goal you're trying to accomplish? And you just spelled out 2 different goals there, which is great, because if you know exactly what you're trying to accomplish. So with the Amazon example, basically that would be, to me, a traditional type demonstration video that I would try to accomplish in anywhere from 60 to 90 seconds. Sometimes it can be a little bit longer. And there's 5 steps to a good demonstration video. One, you want to introduce your product. Again, tell the people what the video is about. You want to demonstrate the product, and again, show the people how to use the product. The third step in that is basically to talk about or focus on the benefits. I work with we were talking a little bit before the podcast started, and I told you I work with a lot of large Amazon sellers, and you do too, and you do work with a lot of people, and you'd be surprised at how many people really focus on the features. Like they say, oh, this product has a 0.5 horsepower motor and a stainless steel blade, and they don't focus on the benefits to the end user. And I think that that's really important, to focus on what is the benefit that product's going to bring to the end user. And then, if possible, put some type of testimonial in if you can't do that. And then I think a lot of people forget in their videos to put a call to action. And I think that that's the biggest difference. The structure of the videos aren't necessarily that much different in the 2 examples you gave, but what you're asking the viewer to do at the end of the video is really the way you get them to take a different action. And again, I think this is an area I see a lot of people, they don't give the viewer instructions on what to do next. And you can get people excited about a product, or excited about free information they're going to get, and you don't tell them the next step as far as, go here and put your name in and leave your email address and I'll send you this free information. After you demonstrate the video on Amazon, go to the buy box and push the buy box button. So I think it's always important to include some type of call to action in the video if possible.
What's up, guys? So for those of you who don't know, Kenji ROI is my agency that helps Amazon sellers with their Amazon listings, and we produce videos for Amazon specifically. So there's two types of videos we produce. One is a lifestyle video with a real model showing off the main benefits, much like Rick is talking about in this podcast. We really dive into the benefits of the product with the real model and text on the screen and all those things to keep your video more engaging and increase your conversion rate on Amazon. The second type of video we have is a cheaper version called a motion graphics video. So that's going to be similar to what you see on BuzzFeed, for example, with the text and motion, like graphic effects and stuff like that. So it's using images with a bunch of zoom in effects, text pop-ups, and everything like that. It is a much cheaper option that can still be just as engaging. And those are the two options that Kenji ROI offers there. So if you want more on that, head over to kenjiroi.com and go to the video tab. Yeah, I really love that advice too. I was actually just recording a video for my students about podcasting and how podcasting, you typically have people's attention, right? They're typically locked into it while they're, doing their morning routine or driving to work or something like that. But in video, it's kind of the opposite. There's so many other distracting things that can just snap their attention away in a second. If you're watching it on Facebook, Instagram, or YouTube, there's just like this little sidebar full of all these other videos that your brain knows immediately. If you're not interested in this video, you're just immediately going to click off to something else, right? So, yeah.
Yeah, and that's absolutely, you're absolutely right. And I have a whole section in the book about, how do you start a video to engage the viewer? And again, I have to go back to the comparison to giving a speech from the stage. How do you hook those listeners in and create interest? And there's probably a dozen different ways of doing it, but three ways that have always worked for me are: you can start your videos with a question. How would you like to lose? Would you like to lose 10 pounds? Would you like to get a better night's sleep? Do you need more energy? And, depending on what your product you're trying to sell, what's the problem you're trying to solve? And you start it with a question. Now, if the viewer, nobody's ever going to make a video that appeals to 100% of the people. But if somebody's looking at that video and they need more sleep or they want more energy, they're going to at least listen to the next step to find out if you're going to deliver the answer to that question. And so you've kind of hooked them in, and then now it's up to you to provide the right content that's going to keep them engaged. And hopefully you're going to give them some type of solution and then show them how to order the product. The other way to start it, and I have a great example of this, is something that I call a factoid. We marketed a product many years ago. We actually helped educate the whole country about the benefits of drinking fresh juices, and we created a brand called the Juice Man Juice Extractor. And we were doing a television infomercial at the time, and it was just a news report that came out on CNN that said scientists had discovered an element in broccoli that could help prevent breast cancer. So I started the commercial off with that statement. And so people were curious to hear more and to find out how something in broccoli or a vegetable could prevent breast cancer. And it would basically drew them in to the video, and then we could talk to them about juicing and how juicing could get more fruits and vegetables into their diet. And then the last way, not the last way, but another way is really, and this is harder to do with an Amazon video and more one that you would use on your e-commerce website, is to start a video with a story. And what people love listening to stories. That's the way we've communicated for a long time. And what I mean by that is, I think it's really important, if anyone has an e-commerce website, that they always have a video that's really tells your story. Why are you doing what you're doing? People want to know the why behind why you're selling a certain product, and not just to make money. I work with a pretty big Amazon seller they call Puria. It's two sisters from Taiwan, and they sell products that help skin conditions like eczema and psoriasis and things like that. And we're helping them with their off-Amazon marketing. And so they had a really great backstory that they learned how to make these natural remedies when they were living in China, and they came to the US and they couldn't buy it. They had buy anything like it. So they started creating the products and sold them on Amazon. And next thing you know, they have a multi-million-dollar business doing it. So it's really awesome.
Yeah. I mean, incredibly powerful stuff there. So I have an interesting question for you here. I have met some people here in Bali that are just doing ridiculous, crazy numbers with dropshipping e-commerce. And that game is very much just about Facebook ads and getting people to, engage with the Facebook ads and then hopefully buy their products. And they're talking about all these little tricks that they're using to just like make the video that little bit more engaging and keep people on there. Like one example I think was, after the first little hook, just making like infographic kind of like moving animations of the product. So instead of actually showing the product, having like a 3D rendering of the product, like spinning around, like just little things like that to keep people engaged and just watching that extra little bit. Are there any little tips that you have how people can just add these little elements to their videos to make them more engaging so people actually watch the whole video?
Yeah, it's funny that you mentioned that. And, one of the things that I want to pass along to your listeners are, I spend a lot of time in my book talking about the underlying psychological principles that get people to buy. There's another really good book. I don't know if you've read it or heard about it. It's called Influence, the Psychology of Persuasion.
That's a great book. Yeah.
Yeah, there's six persuasion principles in there. And you can use some of these tips. I'll give you an example. He talks about, it's Dr. Cialdini, and he talks about social proof, which everyone's heard about social proof. But the definition of social proof is people are in a situation, and whether it's buying a product on Amazon or they're on an e-commerce site, and they don't know how to react. So what they'll do is look to see what other people are doing, and then they'll follow the lead. And so what that means is that's why testimonials work so well. The thing you mentioned before about animation, every time we created a successful infomercial on TV, we would include an animation because people, for whatever reason, an animation is a way to bring a complicated subject and make it look really easy. But that's a little bit more production value. It costs a little bit more to do that, but it's definitely something that's been proven to work. My point being is that the same psychological motivators that work with a Sears catalog, that work with direct mail, that work with radio, that work with television, now we're working on Facebook. So if you understand the underlying concepts and the psychology behind it, it allows you to implement those little tips. I'll give you another example. It kind of happens by accident. When I go into a company, I always like to see if they, I reach out to their database of customers, and the first thing I'll do is sit down and film 10 to 15 to 20 testimonials. And I do that for two reasons. One, I can create great content and great sound bites that I can use for marketing. But secondly, by asking those people, the customers, 20 questions, why do you buy the product? What do you like about it? What do you don't like? Would you recommend it to a friend? If you were selling this to a friend, what would you say? And if you talk to people, you start to see a trend and you can develop a marketing plan in that. But the other thing that happens is you see the demographic of the people that are ordering the product. So here's a little tip. When you can see the type of your demographic or your target market that are your customers, your avatar, the people that are ordering your product, this seems like common sense, but those are the same exact people you need to put in the commercial, because there's a concept from that book called consistency and liking, and people like to buy from people that are similar to them. So if you are putting the same type of imagery in people, even visually, that is your target demographic, even on a silent video, you're just showing a tutorial, but it's like maybe a mom and a dad with two little kids, and that's your target demographic. They're in their early 30s. you should have them in the video as the people versus maybe an older couple. So it's really having to really understand what your customer is, and then using those same types of people in the commercial. And Dan, I have to mention, you do a really good job of listening. You very, I talk a lot, and you listen without interrupting, which is awesome. So.
Yeah. I get that comment from women a lot. They like that. Women actually like when you listen to them. And
It's
such
a good skill
listener.
set. It's a good skill set to have.
And I love what you're saying about all the same stuff that used to work in all these different marketing avenues is what is working a lot today, because I feel like people very often, they get caught up in the shiny object of the new marketing tactic syndrome and get much too obsessed and focused on just like what is the new hack that currently is working right now, and putting no focus into fundamentals and principles of marketing psychology and things that have been figured out for decades and decades. You know, we have like maybe 100 years full of really good marketing material from people who have figured this stuff out, and a lot of it hasn't really changed, right?
Yes.
So are there any like really top books or resources that you would recommend for people to, brush up on their marketing fundamentals instead of whatever the latest online marketing hack is today?
Yeah, and that's a really good point. And one of the points I try to hammer home when I'm talking to people doing podcasts like this or speaking at events and things is that, use Facebook as example, and your friends on Facebook. Facebook is the latest delivery platform. Before that it was TV, and we mentioned it. Before that it was radio. But basically, what they're doing on Facebook is the same thing that worked on TV. If you looked at the order screen on an infomercial, you would see it being full of graphics. And they're discovering, and actually it's easier to test, different creatives and see which one works or not. But anyway, get back to your question about different books. There's you can find these books online, but there's a real, to me, kind of the Bible of copywriting and psychology is a book called Breakthrough Advertising. I don't know if you've heard of that before. It's kind of the Bible of copywriters. And it can be a little bit technical, but if you read that book, you'll know just about everything there is about human behavior and psychology and what hot buttons turn into people. Then there's another book I recommend by Al Ries and Jack Trout called The 22 Immutable Laws of Marketing. And basically, they were using those things in print ads, but the same hot buttons and things, like you said, that worked back then still work today. And so you can. I always a big advocate for people to read books, go to seminars, go to webinars, go to mastermind classes, and learn from other people's experience. But like you said, all of that's out there if you're willing to just go and do a little research and find it.
Yeah, I second those recommendations. I've read both of those books, and especially Breakthrough Advertising is an incredibly valuable book. I think they just actually recently brought that book back to print because for a while it was in super high demand and out of print, and there was secondhand copies of this book selling for hundreds of dollars on online platforms for a used copy of this book. So I think it's back in print now, and you can actually get a physical copy.
Good friend of mine. Yeah. You know Brian Kurtz?
I'm not sure.
Yeah, so Brian used to run a company called Boardroom Reports, and they basically were the 800-pound gorilla when it came to newsletters and selling books, and this was all done through direct mail. And I think Brian Kurtz bought the rights to Breakthrough Advertising, and he's the one that reintroduced it.
That's smart. Yeah, because there's certainly a lot of demand
you're
for
right.
that book.
People were paying hundreds of dollars for it, but that should tell you how valuable it was. And it's interesting because when you're reading that book, they're talking about direct mail and they're talking about print ads, but really it's all about copywriting and really the hot buttons that get people to respond. And I can guarantee you, if you read that book, and you're doing any type of advertising, your advertising will improve.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
Let me add a couple other books for you, because they're ones that I started on, and I'm sure you've heard of Dan Kennedy. He passed away recently. Dan wrote an initial book called The No BS Guide to Direct Marketing. Really, really basic information. It's the first book I ever read about direct marketing, but it really talked a good principles. And then he's got another book or course called Magnetic Marketing. And really what it is just direct response advertising, direct response marketing. And the more you can learn about that, the more it'll help you with all of your online sales.
Yeah, Dan Kennedy's a real smart guy to follow as well. I'm not sure if I read that second one, but it's on the list now. And another question about video that comes up quite often is, these videos can be difficult to produce, and they can take a lot of time and sometimes money if you're doing certain types of videos, right? So do you recommend ways that people can get more value out of a single video? So like maybe they would create one version that's going over the benefits, and then they can cut that up into like smaller videos for social media, or just get more bang for their buck and get like 5 videos out of one shoot, for example?
Oh yeah, no, you hit the nail on the head. And again, I talk about that in my book, Video Persuasion, is, if you're going to take that next step in video where you're actually working with a camera crew that you hire or something, I always say that the success of the video is done in the planning stages, the pre-production. And by that is you plan out exactly what your shots are, and if possible, make a shot list and a storyboard. And then I recommend exactly what you just mentioned here, is that while you have this video camera and video crew, if you're using one, if you're not doing it yourself, is that you shoot as much footage as you can, knowing that you can re-edit it into different uses for different platforms. You can use it, we shoot a lot of video, and then you use different things for different social media platforms. You use it for a different ad. If the ad isn't working, you can re-edit it and put a new opening or a new ending on it. So the more footage you have, the more flexibility you have when it comes to editing the video, and to use it for multi-channel marketing.
Yeah, no, that absolutely makes sense. And so speaking of multi-channel marketing, other than Amazon, where do you think an e-commerce brand would be best to focus on when it comes to the video? What would be the next most important platform, assuming they already have Amazon figured out?
Yeah, so so first of all, if it's an e-commerce brand, and I feel like, and again, people have bit successful without being on Amazon, but Amazon, and you know this because you work with Amazon all the time, it's like the 800-pound gorilla. You have to have a presence there. I look at it like 3 legs of the stool. You basically have Amazon, you have your e-commerce website, and then the third leg is really the different marketing that you need to do. And I don't think that there's necessarily one answer to the question you're asking. If you can make Facebook and Instagram ads work for you, you don't really need to be doing other things. But maybe it's a product or something that Pinterest is better for. So it's something where I think you have to do a little bit of experimentation, and find the marketing channel that works the best. Now, if we go back 5 or 6 years and longer, we used to be able to launch products by making television spots. Well, now we don't do that. We basically, if we're launching a new product, obviously build a website, an e-commerce website, get it up on Amazon, start doing social media, start creating really good content so people will come to the website. And then you need to have some type of paid social media or some vehicle that's driving traffic to the site, whether that's Facebook ads. If you can make it pay for itself, everything I do is with a direct response mindset. So sometimes we can layer in PR where we can get you know, PR releases about a product. It helps drive traffic to the website. And basically, there isn't one single answer to your question. It's just basically figuring out a paid direct response vehicle where you're being able to generate more revenue than you're spending in advertising. And that requires some testing to do.
Yeah. I think that's really important. Yeah. Well, I mean, it's a valuable answer, because I think people can also get a little obsessed with, Facebook is the answer, YouTube is the answer. But what you're saying is that maybe your product is more suited for Pinterest, right?
Yep.
Like a lot more women are on Pinterest. So if you have skincare products or something like that, maybe that's going to be a lot more effective. But and Facebook too has a much different demographic than Instagram. So That's the point I always bring up as well to my students is, like, your audience maybe isn't even right for that platform. So you just really got to look into it. Well, awesome, Rick. This has been super, super valuable. And I know you have just released a brand new book yesterday, I believe, right? Do you want to tell the audience a little bit about that?
Yeah, no, absolutely. And thank you for bringing it up. I have a book called Video Persuasion, and basically it's taken, I've been making videos to promote products like the Juice Man, the George Foreman Grill, OxyClean. We talked about GoPro, and literally thousands of other products over the last 25 years. And everything I've learned about making videos that get people to respond, I talk about in the book. And I talk about even, a chapter on being your own spokesperson and why that's so important and how to do that and how to create good demonstration videos. So it's got a lot of great information about video production, how you can do it cheaply and effectively. It came out yesterday, October 15th, and it's already went to #1 in its category on Amazon in the direct marketing and the PR category. So that's exciting too. So I tell your listeners to go grab a copy. But one really easy thing to do, if they go to my website, which is rickcesari.com, RICKCESARI, rickcesari.com, you can basically download the 3 most types of engaging online video content. It's a free report that I have that basically tells you that the 3 types of content and how you can utilize it in your business. And then you'll be basically at my website. I write a weekly blog talking about everything involved with video and marketing in general, and a lot of great information there. So thank you for giving me the opportunity to share that.
Excellent. Yeah, and really cool to hear that it has jumped up to the top of the charts there. I'll have to pick up a copy and check it out for myself, because certainly I do a lot when it comes to video, and I'm personally doubling down on video a lot with my agency and my personal brand this year. So I'm sure there's some good value I can pick up there. So you heard it there, guys. If you want links to any of that stuff, that'll be in the show notes at actualizefreedom.com. And if you haven't already, go leave us a review on iTunes, on Stitcher, on your mom's porch, or wherever you are. Drop everything you're doing. Go leave a review. Skip work for the day to make it happen, whatever you got to do. And I really appreciate it, guys. So until next time, guys, take care. What's up, guys? So for those of you who don't know, Kenji ROI is my agency that helps Amazon sellers with their Amazon listings. And we produce videos for Amazon specifically. So there's 2 types of videos we produce. One is a lifestyle video with a real model showing off the main benefits, much like Rick is talking about in this podcast. We really dive into the benefits of the product with the real model and text on the screen and all those things to keep your video more engaging and increase your conversion rate on Amazon. The second type of video we have is a cheaper version called a motion graphics video. So that's going to be similar to what you see on BuzzFeed, for example, with the text and motion, like graphic effects and stuff like that. So it's using images with a bunch of zoom in effects, text pop-ups, and everything like that. It is a much cheaper option that can still be just as engaging. And those are the 2 options that Kenji ROI offers there. So if you want more on that, head over to kenjiroi.com and go to the video tab.
For show notes and resources mentioned in this episode, visit kenjiroi.com.